Appreciation August is on 1 week early at integrativemysticism.com. From now until the 31st of August 2020, enjoy 20% off all Scarlet Moon services, including gift certificates when you apply the codes on your screen. We are now also accepting tips and donations for those of you who've been requesting that for the last 7 years. You can now leave a tip or a donation at my website, integrativemysticism.com. Hey everybody, how's it going? NICO Scarlet Moon here, and for those of you who may not know me, or you might just be finding me for the first time, I am a reader, a spiritual practitioner, and I am a Pathwatcher variety of lightworker. And a Pathwatcher is, I guess you could say, it's a certain type of lightworker that focuses more on teaching and expanding on the dynamics of creation itself, and we talk about how manifestations actually happen, dimensional mechanics, layers of consciousness. It's a revelatory type of service when it comes to elevating the consciousness of other people. So it's a little bit different than, say, a light worker who is focusing maybe in more of a healing capacity, or something else. A revelatory work is all about revealing. It's about pulling down veils. It's about opening up spiritual abilities. It's about teaching, again, the mechanics of how multidimensional interaction and a multidimensional experience and a multidimensional consciousness actually affects reality experience. Okay? So just an idea of how that works and really what I'm here to do for those of you who maybe are familiar with me but don't know exactly why I do what I do and why I do it the way I do. I actually had a very cool experience just over the last 48 hours. I've been doing some very, very deep work when it comes to connecting to my own multidimensional self, further integrating the higher self into my everyday, working more and more on my embodiment, as you all know. And there was this big push and presentation of possibly a new way to do weekly readings for people, as opposed to maybe just doing recitations for folks who are coming according to zodiac sign or zodiac identification. And it's an expansion of the idea of a pick a card reading. Instead, I thought, let's build a spread where I actually help you have as personal a reading as it is possible to have through a free general YouTube reading, and help to create something that you will actually be able to work with, and also allow your higher levels, your higher self, to also be a part of the experience, to help you select the cards that you're going to be working with, and also see the messages for the coming week. In fact, this is going to be talking about the first week of August 2020. This is going to require people to be completely present. Okay, I'm just going to stress that right now. Completely present, lucid, not distracted, not multitasking. This is not a reading that you can do in the car. This is not something that you can do while watching TV. This is not something you can do, while you're just doing whatever else. A personal reading is not possible when you're doing things like that. You can't have your attention divided. So make sure that if you are thinking about doing something like this, or you want something that's going to be more personal, you pay the price. I'm kidding, it's not a price. It's just giving it the honor and of the experience of what it is. So the way this is going to work is that first, for those of you who may be feeling you want to get maybe emotionally and spiritually and mentally clear, we're going to do a little bit of a clearing together. And then we are actually going to go through, and I will help you select your cards. If you are already feeling clear, or you are an active spiritual practitioner, maybe you've already done some saging or clearing, or worked with a singing bowl recently, that's cool. You can skip the clearing part, and then just we'll come to the selection part right after that. This video is going to have many timestamps on it as well. So after you select your cards, you can actually go down into the down bar below this video and then you can select the cards from the rows or the columns that you have selected them from. You may feel called to pick more than one card from each column. That is fine, though I do not recommend picking more than 2 per column, because we don't want to get information overload and, drawing 1,000 clarifiers, other readers out there, you'll back me up, can often just, be something that the fear levels of the mind are trying to do in order to get more information it doesn't need right now. And then after you select your cards, open the timestamp menu below. I'm going to put a huge table of contents with timestamps below, and so you can pick. That's the spiritual theme card that I got. Number 1 or number 3, that's the material one, that's the community one, that's the challenge one, that's the love one. And you basically build your own spread and your own read. And what you do is you just kind of, maybe you want to grab a pen, right? Grab a pen or a pencil, or, maybe make a note of it on your computer or your phone, and then you can have fun with it. You can play with it. Now, if you feel at any time during the selection process or during all of this, if you're feeling like you're getting agitated, you're getting frustrated, or some feelings of impatience are coming up, or anxiety, it's not time to do a reading right now. Take a breath, get clear, maybe take 5-10 minutes, or come back later in the day. But it's not good to do readings in a state where the energies are getting a bit frenetic, right? That's never a good thing. And a good reader is always going to do something to try and hold and control the space from going into a place of frenetic or frustrated or anxious or chaotic energy. So just something to think about there. Have fun with this. When we go through the selection process, don't dwell, right? When you're connected and you're in, the messages that are coming through are going to be very quick. So oftentimes, the first choice is the best. If you feel that your higher self is also saying, no, you really got to look at this second one as well, then look at both versus trying to debate one or the other, because it could be you're getting a combined message there. Okay, so some of you may have 5-card horoscopes for this week. Some of you may have 7-card horoscopes for this week. It all depends on what your guidance is prompting you to do. And this is also a way for a revelatory reader to teach people how, as I like to do, to be an effective co-creator and spiritual practitioner. And that's what being a revelatory light worker is all about. And of course, if you ever do want to get a session with me, you can always go to my website, integrativemysticism.com. We've actually got a sale going on right now, 20% off all services and even gift certificates. So that might be something you want to check out as well. So without further ado, we're going to begin the clearing portion of this experience, and then we will get on to card selection. If you're already feeling clear and you're already good to go, then feel free to skip this clearing session and go right on into selecting your cards. Okay, so what I want you all to do is come in through the heart. Just breathe, pull all of our attention into our heart center. Letting go of all distractions, set it aside. You can give yourself this time. You can give yourself this time. Give yourself permission to have this time. You don't have to carry all of the emotions and information every second of every single day. You're not honoring any experiences, and you're certainly not honoring yourself by living like that. So give yourself permission to be clear. Focusing on the heart. And going within to the divine spark. Searching within for the purest, infinitely clear, infinitely divine light, the spark of the divine within the self. You may see a brilliant ball of diamond, crystalline light, platinum light. Some of you may see a blue star, golden star. All depends on where you're at. It's all beautiful. It's all good. And put your focus there. Call in and forth your divine support teams. You might call it your divine support team, your divine entourage, all of your divine guidance. Ascended ancestors, divine spirit guides, angelic brethren, star brethren, calling in whatever your divine guidance is. And we welcome in our higher self, our divine multidimensional self. And we just focus on expanding that brilliant light of our divine spark. Sending that light into every particle of our beingness. Clearing, purifying, overriding all distortions. All intrusive thoughts be cleared right now. Overriding with pure, crystalline, divine love light. Clearing, expanding now. Expanding throughout the entirety of your beingness on all layers, levels, densities, dimensions, and realities. Expanding out now as far and wide as it will go. Expanding out now as far and wide as it will go. Through the walls, floors, ceilings, doors, windows. Expand, cleansing and clearing and purifiing as it goes. We take a line of golden light from that spark and move it up through our crown, connecting now to the spiritual core of the sun, the spiritual center of the sun, the divine spark that is the sun, calling in more pure light, more purifying rays, gradually now intensifying, cleansing, purifiing, divinitizing. Resetting, perfecting, correcting, clear. Let's go to our reading. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through each column, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we'll move on to the next column and the next column and so on until we build your spread. So let's have a look at your spiritual theme or the spiritual overlight, the main themes or theme of the week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got it? Good. Moving on, let's have a look at the material occurrences, professional life, material resources, your work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All set? Let's look at news. messages, communications, community, friends and family. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excellent. Let's look at lessons or challenges that are lessons in disguise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then finally, love and relationships. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Excellent. Well, make sure you've got this all written down. Make sure you know exactly which ones you picked. And now that we're good here, you can open the down bar beneath this video and you can click on the timestamps that correspond to the cards that you picked, and you will have your reading for this week. All right, so it looks like what you chose for your spiritual theme, or what is the background energy moving all things behind this week, well, we have the Queen of Cups upright. And so we're getting into a very deep place with this card because we are focusing on opening hearts to allow for not only healthier and more loving loyalties, but also nurturing, open-hearted, pure connections between all relationships and connections that you have that are uniquely supportive and uniquely nurturing to each individual being in these connections. Because the Queen of Cups upright does ask us to focus, yes, on nurturing, but also understand what we think about when we think about things like bonds, loyalty, support. The truest thing is going to be something that comes from a place of real humble love and intimate understanding, not something that is a loyalty that is based off of things like rules or dogma or role absorption. This is going to be a week where you're going to be finding that the Queen of Cups is actually both supporting and challenging at the same time, because this card's energy is ultimately going to be taking to task a lot of social connections, professional connections, personal connections that may not necessarily be in their healthiest way, because they may be focusing on loyalty because of rules, or they are focusing on unit mentality. They are not individually nurturing and uniquely catered in authentic, wholehearted, heart-based ways in order to serve in the highest interest of all concerned. And that is a big deal, because this is what the difference is between breakthroughs in maybe a family situation, a professional opportunity, or a romantic circumstance, where something could actually be so much more if it were no longer working within the confinements of, say, a dogma that could be getting imposed on it. And you may be finding that you are also maybe passing through certain types of limitations, even in your practical life, because of the personal and closer established connections that you will be building or have the opportunity to build and transcend, even in your work, your professional life, your creative life, your spiritual life. It's not about heedlessly breaking boundaries. It's not about testing boundaries, but it's now about building authentic relationships between self-realized people. Okay, so it looks like when it comes to your material concerns, we talk about your resources, works in progress, job, professional aspirations. We have the King of Cups upright. And this is actually a pretty damn good week, I guess, because this is indicating some kind of personal favor, or maybe even a grand gesture or coming from the King of Cups is actually going to provide some kind of breakthrough for you. And what I'm kind of feeling from this card is that this could actually be somebody who is offering to give you something of theirs, or allow you to have access to something of theirs to utilize for your own growth, utilize for your own expansion, your own promotion, and of course, yes, the acquisition of, of abundance. Now, this could be somebody who's giving you access to their privileges, access to their social network. This could be even somebody taking a chance on you in terms of being like a boss, a superior, or somebody that you are currently maybe in a negotiation with or start a negotiation with this week. But with the King of Cups, we do see this being very much a big focus on a personal rapport that gets this done. So it's not about how good you are at memorizing the bargaining script or doing the dance or being a good salesperson. It's about a heart connection with this person that actually allows for that energy and that experience to get, secure you the success, the position, or the resources that you're actually looking for. So forget performativity and forget doing the dance and ditch the script this week. All right, so when it comes to your community, we talk about messages, news, things coming from friends and family. Well, we have the Moon card, and it does look like there's going to be something coming up this week where it kind of feels that a circumstance that is being presented by a friend or a family member or even a group that you're a part of is not exactly what they are presenting it to be, what they're actually bringing it out to be. Now, this could go in a number of different ways. This could be somebody maybe posing, or maybe somebody misrepresenting themselves. This could also be a situation where we are getting a secret revealed that is also showing us where a person has not necessarily been presenting themselves very honestly. But one of the things I am also getting from this Moon card is that this is sort of a group or a person or a family situation that is also operating from a place of misinformation. And this could very well be that somebody is kind of in seeker mode, but they're not really seeking properly, whether it's, socially seeking, romantically seeking, family seeking, or whatever they're doing, community seeking. They're not necessarily seeking properly. They're more like scrounging. And what can happen sometimes with the Moon card is that we find that person, could be operating again from a place of being misinformed. So they're not necessarily lying to us on purpose. They believe what they're saying is true, even though it's not. Or we may have somebody who is trying to fake something till they make it, so much to the point where they have become a liar. And what I am getting with this Moon card, it is coming from a place of, a sense of desperation. It's a sense of depression and desperation. So I don't think it's necessarily something that is ill-intended on purpose, or something that is maybe worthy of, any kind of, condemnation in terms of judgment for them. But we are going to have to clear this up. We are going to have to part the veil. We are going to have to really let the truth kind of sink in with this person about what they're doing, or maybe let the truth sink in with us if we're kidding ourselves about a certain friend, a certain social group, a certain family connection that we are pretending is what it's not, and really kind of get down to business in sorting this out so that people are not living in a self-imposed illusion or accepting a self-imposed veil. When it comes to the lesson, or a lesson that may present as a challenge this week, well, you've got the High Priestess upright. And so this week, it does look like you are being called to pay attention to good advice you are not taking, possibly because you are wishing that what you are hearing is not true, or quite possibly, you might be finding that there is something coming up where a single individual, or maybe a multitude of synchronicities, are kind of coming through that is trying to get you off a path that is not actually in the highest interest of all concerned. You may already have been experiencing a lot of warning signs and red flags, but you might be hoping against hope that you're wrong and everyone is wrong. But the High Priestess upright is indicating here there is really a very strong need for you to pay attention to where this is not the time to be negotiating, haggling, and bargaining against good advice, against guidance, against something that is actually trying to keep you on a path that is in the highest interest of all concerned. Because with the High Priestess showing up as a challenge, it can be tough. We don't want to believe something about maybe a certain project or a certain person or maybe a certain activity that we're doing. We don't necessarily want to hear that because we might be thinking, well, I'll just try and go against it, or maybe direct my thoughts and energies into manifesting the opposite and turning into something else. That does not work when other wills are involved. You cannot change so many people's free wills in order to suit what you are invested in creating with and for that situation. And unfortunately, the High Priestess upright, yes, this week your challenge is taking the advice of something that is challenging, maybe an emotional investment that you have that is actually placed in something that may actually be unhealthy for you. So for your relationships or love this week, you actually have the Sun upright. And so there is actually going to be a great deal of a renewal of innocence coming through your relationships, or maybe even a new person is bringing this into your life this week. Because with the Sun, I'm getting a very strong sense of a slate being sort of cleaned. We're getting rid of a lot of drama, a lot of the sort of adult emotional distortions that can happen, as we develop through life, and maybe we're not necessarily catching them or clearing them or healing them, as they come. The Sun card upright is giving an opportunity for a lot of you to kind of get back on maybe a timeline or a relationship status or a relationship energy within your own commitment, or maybe again with somebody new, that is ultimately a lot more sweet, a lot more wholesome, a lot more simple, and again, something that is going to be really actually working with that divine spark on the inside. With the Sun, we do see the spark of the divine, which does not know distortion, it does not know discord, it does not know dysfunction and frenetic, unhealthy energy. And so when we talk about the Sun, we are talking about not only a return to innocence, but also a renewal of love, a renewal of a balanced, sweet love that is coming in. People are coming into a space where they are getting parts of themselves back. And you may be finding that, even new people who are coming into your life this week are in a space where they are not holding any of that energy that is inhospitable to real love. They are actually in a space where they are holding that innocence, that purity, that light that is ultimately going to be far more supportive to a prosperous and successful relationship, but also one that is going to be bringing out the best in everyone involved. And you're going to be noticing this as well becoming something that is a bit of a passion and a focus for you and your partner if you are in an existing relationship, because this is also clearing away, right, a lot of debris, a lot of emotional debris from the past, whether it's the past in our relationship or the past from old relationships and old circumstances. We can care about it, but we don't have to carry it anymore. And this is an opportunity to simplify, but also at the same time do some tremendous healing and get back into a place of, yes, innocence and true love, unconditional and divine. Right, so it looks like for your spiritual theme of the week, or what is operating behind the scenes, behind every circumstance, you have the Nine of Pentacles upright. And so this week, a lot of circumstances are going to start hitting that payoff phase, or kind of approaching the payoff stage in their development. And with the Nine of Pentacles upright, it's important to understand that this is a time where we can actually divide our payoffs in ways that are actually now going to be put to better use. A lot of the times with the Nine of Pentacles, when we get to the payoff stage, it's time to be smart. We don't completely, double down and reinvest everything all at once. We do want to, of course, stabilize things. We want to take time to also focus on maybe increasing the quality of life that we are actually working with here. Because the Nine of Pentacles is also about drastically or incrementally making shifts to make improvements or milestone steps where there's no going back. We talk about these kinds of improvements. We talk about these structural changes that we might be doing in our family, doing on the job, doing with our love lives. We've kind of hit our payoff, and now it's time to make sure that our payoff pays in to keeping a good thing going. One of the other things you want to pay attention to when it comes to this card is that for maximum payoff, I guess you could say, when we get to this stage, is that you also want to be in a situation where you can actually take what you have and, of course, start interacting with it in a more personal way. So a lot of you are going to be also needing to get more involved in things that maybe you have outsourced to other people, or maybe things that you have left in the hands of other people. If you've outsourced a lot and you've got a lot of other things being handled by other wills and other energies and other beings right now, it's time for you to get back involved, get back into the saddle, because again, we are approaching the payoff stage here. And so the more personally we get involved and handle them independently, some of you may be actually also offering to put the finishing touches on yourself. That's perfectly great. The bigger our payoffs will be in all areas of our life this week. Okay. All right, so it looks like when it comes to your material concerns, we talk about your personal abundance, we talk about your professional life. You've got the Nine of Wands upright. And so this week, it does feel like a lot of you are going to be encountering circumstances where you are going to need to start pulling your boundaries in a bit tighter. Where have we accidentally maybe scattered too many of our interests, maybe even too many of our expenses? Have we decided to maybe involve too many people, too many cooks in the kitchen, too many situations where we have all of this excess input, all of these extra variables kind of bouncing around here? The Nine of Wands is indicating here that this week we need to be a little bit more careful about that, but also understand that you are going to have to be doing in more check-ins with things that you have left in other people's hands. So if you've been filing applications, if you've been making any kind of calls, if you have been making inquiries and things like that, maybe about new jobs or new financial opportunities, then this is actually going to be a week where a lot of you are gonna have to not simply just sit around waiting, okay? And the car agrees. You're just gonna have to, get on the road with this. Because this is going to be a week of many check-ins. If you're waiting on responses of things that you've already put out there, they're not necessarily going to be forthcoming. The Nine of Wands can often indicate doors that are shut but not locked. So you are going to have to go in yourself. If you've been maybe taking things a bit too easy, or maybe you've been a bit, too hands-off, or maybe you've just not necessarily been following up as much as you could, this is a week where those who do decide to follow up are going to find success, and those who choose not to are going to find that, they're kind of putting off a few things this week that could be actually in their hands right now. The Nine of Wands, though, is also saying, once again, you don't necessarily want to have your resources and your responsibilities scattered to too many people either, because you may actually be encountering this week that there are going to be some issues that crop up when we have left so much of our lives and our life streams in the influence of others, or in the hands of others. All right, so when it comes to your social affairs, we talk about community, we talk about communications, friends, family, things like that. You've got the Eight of Cups upright. And it does look like a social connection is pretty much kind of hitting the end of the line. And I don't mean this necessarily in a bad way, because I don't think this is actually something that is going to present in a negative way, or anything that's going to happen with a fight, or any kind of maybe, I would say not even necessarily an argument or anything like that, but there's sort of a realization that there's somebody, or maybe even a group or a couple of people, that we are going to have to make a bit of a departure from. And the reason that's happening, to be, perfectly honest, is that usually when we kind of feel this energy, it's a done deal. It's come as far as all involved are going to be able to go, so long as they still continue to go together. And this is an evolution moment, right? This is a moment where we kind of go forward, we move on. This could be also, again, maybe even extending into a spiritual or professional circumstances. We don't all advance at the same rate, and we cannot be afraid to go our own pace, even if that means our pace might be progressing us at a rate that is much different from other people we've gotten attached to. Yes, sometimes when people realize that the other people are advancing faster than them, they can make them insecure, or it might make them feel, judged or left out, getting a bit of the FOMO kind of feeling because they don't understand what people are talking about anymore, and they get really down on the person who's about to go. But with the Eight of Cups upright, it's really a sign though that you are done. Otherwise, we might actually end up in a situation where people are just kind of looping and stagnating. And you may also notice other departures. There could be some disbanding going on in certain social groups and things like that. You're not leaving everyone behind. I don't see that at all. In fact, you may be actually finding that the Eight of Cups is pulling you towards, let's just say, more complementary inclusions to your social life at the same time. For your lessons or lessons that may present as challenges this week, you actually chose the Wheel of Fortune upright, which is actually really, really interesting because it's not necessarily like an overt challenge or a situation we have to confront or deal with. But we have to understand that a lot of circumstances in our lives are going through a very big evolution process. They actually are transitioning into higher versions or lower versions sometimes of themselves. So it could be a de-evolution as well. But what's happening is that you've got your challenge this week, or your lesson is to understand that nothing can actually stay the same. There is going to be sort of a procession of eras in your life where a lot of standbys, a lot of touchstones this week are going to be beginning a transmutation process, a transformation process that is ultimately going to prohibit them from recreating the old or recreating things that they used to for you. And yeah, that can be kind of a bit of an unsettling moment when there's this sort of sense that there is no going back. But with the Wheel of Fortune upright, it is actually promising here that this is going to actually be a better version of what it used to be. It is progress, and we want to make sure that we are always encouraging evolution and progress, even if it might present certain maybe social or emotional challenges in the very beginning. You may be finding that even people involved in the situation, work groups, friends, family that are maybe sticklers for sameness, or they didn't sign on for for ascending and evolving in this now moment, are going to maybe be struggling with this. But at the same time, if this Wheel of Fortune is basically saying if something is to thrive, and it can no longer actually remain as it is, it does actually have to evolve. And it looks like even environmental circumstances, energies and frequencies around are forcing an evolution in a lot of areas of your life. And you may be finding that a project or a group or something is old news. It's not something that actually belongs in the new for you. And sometimes, yeah, it might feel kind of like, well, did I miss the boat, or did I get enough time with it? It's got to evolve. All right, it looks like for love and romance this week, you chose the Hierophant upright. And one of the things that's, been coming through very strongly from this card is a completely new type of relationship experience or relationship archetype or relationship example or platform is going to be presenting for you this week. Now, this could actually be something that comes through a partner, or maybe even somebody new, evolving or shifting into maybe a way where we are deciding to ditch a relationship structure or paradigm or example that we have worked with in the past, and we are sort of subbing out, the way I would describe it, we are subbing out maybe new normals, or we are subbing out normals when it comes to our relationships this week. And I do feel that this is actually going to be adopting and rewriting rules in your relationships to better suit where everyone is. Sometimes with the Hierophant, we often find the need to pay attention to where certain boundaries or certain expressions, certain ways of conducting ourselves in relationships, whether we are, again, with somebody new or with somebody who's been with us for a while, or even how we operate as parents, right? When we're talking about family, would served a purpose that belongs in an era or belongs in a time in our lives that we're not in anymore. And so we are kind of in a space where the Hierophant is asking us to pay attention to where this shift has to occur, because there is a new concept or a new I would say a new concept or a reset being made when it comes to your relationship area this week that is actually going to be more resonant with, I think, the intentions and the ideals that you have been working on more recently and bringing everything back into the present, as opposed to maybe conducting our relationships or our relationship style, our romantic style, our love language in a way that honors way too much of the past. And so you're going to be seeing partners shift in attitude, shift in their approach, shift in what they want their rules to be. You're going to be seeing yourself start to aspire to different types of love languages, as well as possibly be presented with different ways relationships can be conducted versus what you've already known and been shown. And that will also present through new people as well, if you're available for something new and looking. All right, so it looks like when it comes to your spiritual themes of what is occurring this week behind the scenes, what is the overlight, what is the primary influence behind everything that you're experiencing, we actually have the Page of Cups upright. And so this week is going to be filled with opportunities to establish meaningful bonds with the manifestations or with the people, the connections, the relationships that you want to actually have become more regular parts of your everyday reality experience. But we also have to pay attention that with the Page of Cups, there is a need for demonstration, honest demonstration, not performativity, but honest demonstration of affection and rapport for that which we are actually trying to establish a connection with. Because when we see this card show up, sending energies, affection, and communication with our desires will hasten their manifestations. And why does that happen? Because thoughts by themselves manifest nothing. It is actually the feelings that those thoughts produce within us that actually send the energy and set the vibrational tone of the work that we are doing. So it's important to make sure that, of course, we are actually holding space and love, affection, and welcome to those people, those circumstances, those occurrences and manifestations that we actually are trying to pull in. And it'll require you, of course, to assess, well, all right, where am I expressing this or not expressing this? Am I simply holding this as an esteem? Maybe it's time to actually start expressing those things a little bit, because the Page of Cups is going to show you what the lack of those expressions of kindness, gratitude, welcome, and affection is also creating. All right, it's going to be kind of it's a double effort here, right? It's a double meaning. It's like, look, you're going to see where, what happens when the love isn't going there. Where might we be taking some things for granted a little bit, or maybe where are we thinking that something should be just holding itself up on its own, whether or not we put energy there. You are a spark of the divine creator, so wherever you pull your energy away from, it starts to go away. And so you have to balance that with the Page of Cups upright. And so this is going to be a big part and a big story of your week, because where you are sending, your actual feelings of love, that's where it's going to go. And check your thought and your thought feeling arrangement as well. If thoughts of something you desire bring you to like a low place or a sunken place, if you're trying to, say, attract a new relationship opportunity, or you are thinking of something you desire, but for some reason you are sinking into more distorted energies and emotions, fear, anxiety, resentment, depression, things like that, check and see what is operating there, what is going on there, because those energies are getting sent at the thing you are focusing on, and that's totally not what you want to do. So it's an opportunity to as well catch those midstream and do some corrections, and that's going to be a big focus of this week. We're going to see examples of that show up constantly. All right, looks like when it comes to your material concerns, when it comes to your professional life, your personal abundance, your material resources, you have the Three of Swords upright. And so this week you're gonna see a painful or maybe even dysfunctional or professional or dysfunctional material professional situation come to a head. And this is where we are in a space where we also actually have to cope with maybe something that we keep feeding high hopes is not actually going to provide what was intended, what was told to be provided. Now, this can sometimes come through a boss, a mentor, a business partner. This could be something that we have been maybe going through hell for following, hoping that at some point there is going to be a payoff. But the Three of Swords is presenting an alternative to that this week that we need to actually be giving some attention to, even if we've been dismissing it, right? It's like, look, I've put so much time and effort here. I don't want to cash out. I want to wait. I want to wait. Three of Swords upright is absolutely saying, no, this week it's time to pull our time, our resources, our energy, and our investments away from a detriment and actually give some power and some attention and some love to a healthier, alternative that is presenting or has presented that we may have been tempted to dismiss or ignore because we might be so attached to either winning or succeeding or prospering through and maybe in spite of this dysfunctional circumstance or this detrimental circumstance when we need to pull back instead. Okay, we are assessing X factors this week when it comes to our finances and our work. It may be that you see a bit of a problem show up here because of maybe denying everything that we've seen, again, hoping against hope that something is going to turn around or change. But the Three of Swords upright is ultimately indicating that at this point, when it comes to your work and finances and in your material life, it's going to be better for you to entertain some options you've been dismissing that are coming up to give you an out, as opposed to try and save a sinking ship. Okay, so this could be going on at work, this could be going on with the project. It's not to say that you're going to lose everything, because you certainly don't. In fact, it's a lifeboat that you've been ignoring that you need to pay attention to right now. All right, well, it looks like for your community card, or your communications, news from friends and family, you have the Strength card upright this week. And so it looks like there is something coming through, either a friend or a relative or maybe even a group that is actually going to, and what I'm getting from this is like a connection, a resource, or maybe just a generous act on their part that is actually going to be strengthening or revitalizing an area of your life, or maybe even a bond or a connection with them or somebody else that has been deteriorating. So we're actually seeing an opportunity for somebody to kind of help and heal and uplift and stabilize a situation that has kind of gotten away from us a little bit. This may require, however, that you kind of step outside of your normal problem-solving skills and start paying attention to what this person is offering instead. Because with the Strength card upright, what we can often see is a need to be willing and able to focus on what is healthy versus maybe what is comfortable in the beginning. Remember, not all healing is going to feel soothing and calming and relaxing all the time. There is such a thing as a clearing experience. There is such a thing as a healing crisis, for that matter. And so what can sometimes happen is that we actually see something coming in that's going to stabilize and uplift and heal an area of our life coming through this friend or a family member, but it may require us to step on a few toes and not be afraid to make some people uncomfortable. Again, how people react to a healing experience really depends on what's going on in their energy, what's going on with their level of consciousness, and whether or not they can see that through to the true feeling of being healed really will actually depend on all involved. But this is actually something that is going to be a panacea. It is something that is actually going to be a cure for what is ailing something as it relates to either a relationship or a circumstance in your life that is coming as a gift. However, like I said, whether or not a person will step forward and, or other people will be able to go through the whole healing process, and then again be healed, as opposed to maybe being in a situation of always healing but never healed. And most of the time that happens when people, kind of stop when they get uncomfortable. It really all depends on how people are going to respond. But this is the answer that you're actually getting given. This is the resource. This is the tool. This is the power that you're being handed. And I think this person's doing this to also heal and strengthen a bond with you. All right, so when it comes to your lesson for this week, or I guess you could say a lesson that may present as a challenge, you have the Ace of Pentacles upright. And so this is going to be an interesting week because with the Ace of Pentacles, there may be a situation where you are needing to maybe regain control of how something is developing or how something is growing. Because it is actually growing, it is actually starting to become, a bigger manifestation of itself. But at the same time, manifestations and occurrences and reality experiences, they do take on the shape and form of the energies that they are exposed to, right? So when we talk about things that are in the environment, we talk about how maybe certain people are influencing it, or how it was started, what was put in it, right? You reap what you sow. Well, with the Ace of Pentacles, we are starting to see that something might be kind of getting away from us a little bit when it's in a challenged position, as it is. Intention is only one part of the process. It's not going to hold something that may be going through a bit of a warping. And so your lesson this week, or your challenge this week, is to pay attention to situations that might be, yes, growing, but also, again, veering off from the initial intention of your creation, of your manifestation, whatever it is. It could be a project, again, kind of getting away from us. It could be a relationship going down an interesting road, or maybe an assignment or a group situation or a job that is that started with the right intention, but because of what has been introduced to its environment, what is contributing to that reality experience, who is involved, whose feelings, energies, emotions, actions, and deeds are, of course, also changing how it grows. It's like a seed. How much water and sunlight, the quality of the soil, the weather, it's all going to change how a seed actually performs and what the harvest is going to be. And so this is a week where you got to pay attention to what is going into these things. What exactly is the nourishment that my creations are getting or not getting enough of? All right, so it looks like for your relationship and love and romance card, you have the Five of Pentacles upright. And as you may have heard me say over the years when it comes to this card, when it comes to love and romance, this is an energy that is rather contradictory to what people think of this card when they think of things like finances. Because this is a card of having your soul completely laid bare, right? There is a sense of openness and vulnerability. But in love, what I'm getting from this card, especially this week, is that there is going to be a wonderful opportunity to actually connect with either a partner or somebody new where there is no armor. There is no shield, right? There's no material shield. This is the kind of card where we see the true opportunity for a soul-to-soul connection happen, because people are getting away from the pretense. People are no longer working with their representational selves, right? And that's already something that is getting completely dissolved. Like, that's not even a part of the new paradigm. Nobody gets to have a representational fake self. But also at the same time, with the Five of Pentacles, there's a deep vulnerable moment that actually allows for a new type of relationship to develop with an existing partner, or even something that actually magnetizes you with somebody else that is actually showing us where we might be on a very, very similar wavelength, a very, very similar spiritual frequency, based on what is going on the inside versus what's going on the outside. This can come, due to possibly the elimination of some kind of defense mechanism or a crutch, or maybe even the dissolvement of a self-protective personality trait that this person has been living with or living by, or maybe even you or both of you, for a very, very long time. It's one of the realest kinds of cards you can get when it comes to love, because people are no longer, faking or acting like they think they want to or should, but they are just themselves because everything else has been stripped away. All right, so it looks like for your spiritual theme of the week, or what is operating behind the scenes, the predominant theme or overlight behind all experiences, well, you've actually got the Five of Wands upright. And this card is actually giving off a sense of not necessarily just competition you'll be experiencing, but a lot of different timelines, different projects, different people, different proposals coming your way to actually compete with something that you are already working on or attached to for your time, energy, and attention. And the thing about the Five of Wands is that it's asking you to put yourself out there and to actually allow for this competition to take place. This may be making you feel a little bit disorganized at times. You might be feeling like this perfect, straight and narrow one lane road you're on is now being challenged or attacked. But the truth is that is not so. A lot of these alternatives that are coming your way, things that you might not even be looking for, job opportunities when you're not looking for one, or maybe even, opportunities to expand on your own spiritual creative path, even though you're not really putting a lot of time there, do deserve your attention. And put yourself out there with this, again, with no regard for pushback or competition, because that's crucial. This week is basically governed by the energy of, look, the brightest outcome will win if you actually listen. Some of these opportunities that are coming your way will require you to let go of certain attachments to certain outcomes that you have, right? With the Five of Wands, there is a competition for our attention. There's a competition for our energy. But also at the same time, there are competitions that are being set to try to win us over. And so it may feel sometimes like it's like intruding on our bubble a little bit. It's like, no, I had this all organized and this wasn't in my planner. Screw it, who cares? This is going to be a week where a lot of you are going to find that you are getting a lot of pleasant surprises, even if in the beginning it feels almost as though it is intruding upon a nice organized box you've put yourself in. All right, so it looks like for your material concerns this week, you actually have the Queen of Pentacles upright. And this week feels like something is actually ready to be birthed, or probably something has already been birthed and it's about to be offered or proposed to be shared with you. And this could actually show up as sort of either a heart-based or sort of handmade, metaphorically speaking, or literally speaking, depending on where you are or what you're doing, project or income avenue, or even a role, or something that ultimately has been sort of personally crafted by somebody that's been waiting for this to mature, that they are now ready to present to you. It's ready for its debut. And also, in that case, ready for implementation. One of the things I'm actually getting from this Queen of Pentacles, however, is that this is going to be something that is put on the table that may actually seem kind of humble in the beginning. Because the Queen of Pentacles doesn't do frills. You know, the Queen of Pentacles isn't all about being flashy or capitulating to, you know, what it takes to get people's attention nowadays, since people need so much. The Queen of Pentacles, the work and the quality and the value does speak for itself, and it is something being presented to you. And one more thing, you know, this is a gift that will continue to give more and more increasingly over time. But whatever this is, whether it's coming through a boss, a new boss offering you something, or maybe even, you know, a side hustle, or something growing out of an existing financial or maybe even professional circumstance you have, it is worth your attention, even if it may actually be something you weren't asking for or looking for this at this now anyway. All right, looks like when it comes to news and messages, your community card, friends and family, you've selected the Page of Wands upright. And it does look like there is actually some fuel for a fire that you're already burning getting offered to you. I'm feeling like there is some kind of fresh start coming for a personal passion, or yeah, we'll leave it at personal passion, that is offered with some kind of invitation towards a friendship, or maybe an invitation coming through a friend to give it a new space to grow and play in and thrive in. This may actually be either a new contact, or again, something that is maybe connected to us through a friend, or a match made in heaven, so to speak, that is going to be providing a fair amount of new either social support or material resources, or even just a new platform or backing for whatever this passion is, or this project is, to actually get new legs, to kind of reach a higher ground with. And you know, this is also not only allowing it to kind of step into a bigger version of itself, but it is also something that could generate some very strong publicity, whether it is trying to become more popular with anyone and everyone, or possibly just reach the right people. You know, the Page of Wands does often actually give us a chance to expand the population, or the social surroundings, or the environment that we're working with, the territory that we're working with, in order to actually allow for space for our project or our ambition to actually grow. And so it does look like that new fuel is going to be added to your fire this week, if you'll accept it. All right, so it looks like for your lesson this week, or a lesson that will appear as a challenge, is the Seven of Cups upright. And it does look like you are going to be put in a position where you're going to have to take more responsibility for maybe being too open too often. You know, it's one thing to surrender to possibilities when you've already set an intention. It's another thing to have no intention at all and just kind of be window shopping for a reality experience. And this is a week where we have to take responsibility for where certain aspects of our life may have accidentally have gone in that direction. One of the things I'll share with you, a personal spiritual term that I honestly don't like very much. It's the term seeker. Hate it. And the reason I don't like that phrase very much is because it implies a lack of intention. you know, it's almost like you're not so much seeking as you are just kind of wandering about for something to catch your eye. That is not necessarily a good idea, especially when we get the Seven of Cups upright, because waiting on thoughts to be the sole manifester of one's reality often leads to paralysis and stagnation. You know, energies that have been maybe scattered need to be nurtured. You know, you're parenting your reality. You are the nurturer and the boss of your own reality here. Now, even if you've given that power away to other people to have over you, you are still responsible for that, and you can call it back at any time. But the Seven of Cups is asking you to pay attention to what you've left way too open. What have you kind of decided to maybe keep your options open with for far too long? Because what happens when this card shows up as a lesson and as a challenge, if we don't actually start working with and nurturing and parenting a reality we want to have, it starts to phase out. And so sometimes leaving our options too open leaves us with less options than we had in the first place. And so this is a week where it's time to actually start not only being more intentional, but start creating and stop the waffling. Because the Seven of Cups is saying, you know, you're going to see where there is a consequence for not physicalizing certain aspects of what your desires are, you know, putting things into motion, right? Living like we are already creating a home for that manifestation of that creation to come into being. Your thoughts do not do all the work. All right, well, it looks like when it comes to your relationship card, you picked the Knight of Wands upright. And so it looks like there is going to be some kind of new ground broken this week when it comes to love and romance across the board. Whether or not you are in an established relationship, you're available for looking for something new, because it does look like your intended or the other in this situation is going to be making a lot of first moves in order to sort of initiate a new type of romantic or creative pursuit this week. And so for a lot of you who, you know, if you are single, the Knight of Wands definitely indicates an approach, you know, and some very clear and obvious signals and flirtations coming your way. But also remember that if you want this, you do need to encourage it, because, you know, in the same thing goes for those of you who are in established relationships. You know, if your partner starts doing something very different, initiating again a new ground, a new adventure, kind of bringing a new fire to the relationship, the fuel has got to be provided by you. You do not play too coy or play dumb or unreceptive with the Knight of Wands energy here, because what can happen is that sometimes a lack of engagement can also be taken as not just a rejection, but also kind of like stamping out the idea in the first place. It's, you know, we don't want to accidentally tell the universe, tell our partner that this thing we like is something that we don't like, because we are trying to maybe not give off a signal, or we are, you know, trying to play to a different kind of game. Because the Knight of Wands ultimately is all about a space in a partner, or maybe in a new person's mentality, in a space where they're kind of ready for a completely fresh start, but they're doing it by actually bonding that fresh start to an activity, a new beginning, some kind of shakeup in either the schedule, the routine, the love language, or the way that we are actually expressing romantic inclinations this week. And so we've got a really cool sort of extra energy coming through for you. But if you want it to stay engaged and you want it to stay proactive and energized and all of that, you are going to need to make sure that you are also encouraging and, you know, and fanning this flame and fueling this fire, okay? Because what can sometimes happen is that we might just accidentally give the wrong message if we're not careful. So just be mindful about that one. But I definitely see, you know, in a lot of cases, the initiative is going to be taken on the part of your partner or the new person. So, you know, prepare for them to be making those first moves. All right, it looks like for your spiritual theme of what you've selected, or what's going to be overlighting, or sort of the big theme behind everything this week for you. We actually have the Justice card upright, and this is all about getting everything back where it belongs. You're going to see that there is a great deal on correcting and perfecting both old and present business, works in progress, in a way where we are actually getting a chance to start wrapping up a lot of things and get everything smoothed out in order to actually focus on progress. Now, one of the things I am getting from this Justice card, though, in this particular case, is that paces that are going too slow in your life are going to go with other slow paces, and paces that are keeping up with the progress are going to be moving with, into spaces where they are with people and with influences that are going their own speed. And so this is how your week kind of plays out when it comes to maybe work projects, family developments, your own spiritual development, your own creative works, career opportunities, and things like that. Because the Justice card is all about matching like vibration and like energy with like energy, right? Everything gets what it is. Everything is then drawing in what it is. And so you're going to find that a lot of outstanding or outlived stories, distortions, and things like that, they're all coming up to be, I guess cleared, in the sense of getting overhauled. We're kind of putting everyone in places where they are now a match for that space. And it might bring up some very positive news. It could be that we find out that, yay, we're moving on up because of, again, the energy we're carrying, the work we're putting in. We're going into a place that matches vibration. But if you're not happy with what shows up, it's time to do some, to do some work and kind of pay attention. Okay, wow, like maybe I don't want to be in a situation that is progressing slower than I want. Where am I going slower than I should or could be going? I don't want to be in a situation that is frenetic or maybe disorganized. Okay, well, where can I organize better? Because the Justice card is all about putting everyone under a bit of a microscope or a magnifying glass and going, okay, what are the ins and outs, and how do we match all the ins and outs between everybody that you're talking to, all the projects that you're working on, all of the new relationships you want to start, the territories you want to visit. This is a week where the mirror, it's not 100%, it's never 100% reflection, but the mirror focus, but also the match to match energy is very, very strong for you. So you want to make sure that you are ready to make the jumps to the matches you want. All right, so it looks like when it comes to your material concerns, your professional life, your personal abundance and resources, you got the Magician upright for this week. And I feel that there is a very strong breakthrough for you this week that's coming in the form of kind of a rising star sort of treatment. This is going to ultimately be a moment where you are getting a lot more attention and a lot more recognition, even in times and spaces where maybe you are used to being obscured, or maybe something that you've been doing either with your business or your work, or even your own investments and your own creative time and energy. Maybe it's not where people were looking, originally, right? Sometimes sometimes we end up sharing space with people that are way better at attracting the lowest common denominator kind of attention, right? And that's okay. It is what it is. I was just talking to somebody the other day in a reading, like, we shouldn't try to reach the lowest common denominator. We should reach our common denominator, whatever that is, when it comes to our business, building an audience, or doing anything to raise our own quality of life. And with the Magician card upright, something about your work ethic, something on your resume, something about about your own energy that you're putting out there is actually getting recognized for its uniqueness. And so we are seeing this rising star kind of treatment. And with the Magician, 4 out of 5 times, it's always because of something that is actually counter to what is very popular, counter to what is commonplace in that environment. in that industry, in that market, in that office. And with the Magician card upright, this does look like there is going to be a lot of investment coming your way, possibly, yes, capital, something that's trying to bolster and strengthen and fortify this kind of treatment that you're getting to also help you make some renovations to existing conditions that you have, whether it's in your work life, your home life, your personal resources, that will, of course, further this breakthrough. All right, so when it comes to your social life or social engagements, your communication sector, right, friends and family, you drew the Hermit upright. And it feels like a lot of your social time or maybe socialization this week, or maybe how you're socializing your social hour is going to be all restricted to one particular person. And that's what's actually coming out. I'm not seeing the Hermit saying you're going to be the Hermit this week. I'm actually feeling as though there is sort of a cloistering away. You know, you're kind of going into the treehouse, going into the clubhouse, with either a friend, a business partner, a family member, and there's something kind of going on that you feel like this is actually where you want to spend most of your time and most of your energy. I am seeing a bit of a retreat kind of element to this, but it is a productive one as well. I'm wondering if perhaps the Hermit card is maybe somebody that you already want to carve out a certain amount of time for when it comes to maybe a professional or spiritual or creative aspiration. It could just be, again, a pastime, a getaway, but I am feeling something a little bit more expansive than that coming through. This could, by the way, also be a completely new person coming into your life that is sort of outside your normal entourage, outside of your normal clique. This would be somebody that you have your close one-on-one tight connection with. Either you're drawing them in or they resurface during this period. But I am seeing that you are opting to actually give them the vast majority of your time to kind of buckle down this week and get to work on something that the two of you have maybe either needed to really take some time for that we have not, or it's our way of kind of giving ourselves a new place to work, a new territory to prosper in or to grow or evolve in that is kind of outside of maybe the frequency of the company that you're normally keeping. But what I am seeing with the Hermit, this is something that does also help lead into a form of personal mastery. So it's almost like two mad scientists going into the lab, two magicians going into the temple, two artists going into the studio, and really banging it out and getting something very, very important underway. And I feel like with the Hermit card upright, even though it is, again, taking up a great deal of your time, it's actually putting that time to very, very good use. So when it comes to your lessons or your lessons presented as challenges this week, you drew the Fool upright. And so what I'm actually feeling coming from this is very much a lot of completely foreign elements, foreign influences, and foreign characters coming into your life to kind of challenge your bubble in order to motivate you to either get out of it or smash it. And the reason I feel that coming through here is because these folks are kind of coming in to make you look and see where you've hit ceilings in your life that you may not necessarily know, right? The limits of our boundaries when it comes to our bubble, the limits of our bubble, it's the limit of our universe. The limits of our language, it's the limits of our universe. And when we look at the Fool card, it's really giving off this, this opportunity to, change a professional or maybe even personal circumstance that is not going to expand if we continue to stay within that bubble or keep it within this bubble. I feel like this could show up as maybe a single new person in your life, or maybe even a couple of friends that ultimately do help you break new ground, but at the same time, you will see that they are maybe from the other side of a boundary you don't normally cross, whether this is socially, spiritually, possibly to a certain degree. This could even challenge some of our thoughts about maybe, let's just say, geopolitics to a to whatever degree. And I'm going to leave it there because honestly, um, I, I'm not really interested. But the Fool card upright is indicating here that there is something where you're going to have to realize that you've gotten all you can out of again, either a bubble or a security net, or maybe a fortress that you are in right now. And it's important when they come and ask you if you want to come out and play, at least go meet them at the door and see what they're offering to show you. Okay, and that's your challenge this week, is to get away from things that maybe you've kind of been holding on to too much for safety, or any bubbles that you've been keeping yourself in too much for security. All right, for your love and romance card, we actually have the Four of Wands upright. And this is a really, really powerful card for you, because what I'm actually feeling is there's this new sense of being established, or getting established, or establishment flowing into your relationship zone throughout the course of this week. Now, when I say establishment, I don't mean institution. I just mean a sense of being established, or somebody who is established in their own life, somebody who is actually self-realized, somebody who's already working on it, somebody who's actually got the proof that they are living the life that vibrates in the truest self, the truest form. And that is pretty much where we have an opportunity. Cat. That was Persephone. When that's pretty much the opportunity that we're going to get when we start looking at potential new partners, is we're going to see people who are actually successfully established in their reality, living that complete truth. Because the Four of Wands is indicating there is actually a firm foundation here, there is stability here, and it is an intact environment. It is an intact sense of establishment around this new person that's coming into your space. For those of you who are currently in an existing relationship, there is a breakthrough where there is sort of the development of a new structure or a crossed milestone in your relationship that is actually going to start culminating this week, start actually coming together, start gelling together. And I feel like this is celebrating a milestone for you. This could actually be a breakthrough in how we feel established as a couple, or how we feel our home is established, how we feel our quality of life, or the lifestyle we are leading with ourselves, or the lifestyle we are providing for our children. There's a new sense of establishment coming back to actually creating something that really does feel like a perfect home versus trying to construct it. The Four of Wands upright is also bringing in some very positive news through a partner as well. This could be a breakthrough for them when it comes to their work, or their own personal journey, their own family life. But it is something that they are able to bring and share with this with the partnership. And basically, their win is your win. I do want to add, for those of you who are available or single, or looking for somebody new, the Four of Wands upright is giving this sense of somebody who has already kind of planted roots or established themselves, right? Established seems to be the theme for this card this week, in the reality, or in a reality you would like to be in as well. So pay attention to what it takes to be there, and what the rapport and what these energies are all doing here in order to make that a realization, if that is something you want to go forward with.